Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Broadway World Podcast. My name is Haley, and today we are we welcome Nicole from the Designer Dust Co. The Designer Dust Co. She's going to talk about some of the um of the glitter she creates, and she's going to actually show us some. So let's welcome her in.
There we go. That should be good. Let me make sure my headphones are on. There we go. Okay.
Hi.
Good morning.
How are you?
Doing good. It's been a morning.
Definitely. I had to edit and release a episode which is out in like an hour. So
There you go. There you go.
and I was really stressed because we had because I woke up at 8 o'clock and we had our interview at 11:30. So I was like, I really gotta like move.
Hey, I feel that because once I'm done with this, I wake up my kid and I go take her to daycare so I can go do work today because I'm not in my office for the next week.
Fun.
Oh yeah.
So
Good.
so how are you?
I am good. I'm ready. I'm excited to talk about all this stuff because I think it's a fun place where I haven't gotten to really express kind of in a longer form why I was able to like marry the business with my passions for theater. And like when I mentioned I was a theater nerd on one of my videos, people are like, no way. I'm like, are you kidding me? And then I realized, oh, you guys don't know me in real life. You guys don't know how much of like a weird theater nerd I am. Like I love like
Right.
the nerdy little details.
Yeah. I am a theater nerd as well. Like that's why I created this podcast actually, because like
Exactly.
yeah, like you can see in the background, I got all my
I
cards.
have I have all of my playbills sitting right next to my TV. I have a big Broadway blanket, and then in my entry hallway, I have my autograph posters from the original Broadway cast of Spring Awakening, and then I have almost the original Broadway cast of Next to Normal.
My Broadway blanket.
They're comfortable, they're easy, they're just like
Yeah, they're very comfortable. I wanted to put this like in the background
mm,
to like and hang in the background, but there's like no way without blocking everything else.
yeah, you'd have to get like clips and do them on the wall, but then you lose like a lot of light, things like that.
Yeah. So to each your own. Oh well.
Exactly.
So so talk to us about what Designer Dust Co. is.
So Designer Desco was a company I kind of started offhand about 7-ish years ago. And I've been working as a hair and makeup artist. And I was creating a lot of like fandom, mostly like Disney adult fandom stuff. And I had done some glitters just because I had used a couple other companies and they were really expensive and you can only get them at like certain places. And which is ironic that you can only get us on our site right now. But my problem was that it always felt like really unobtainable as far as the glitter goes because I always wanted something that's gonna be really fun and chunky. And then the pandemic hit. And I was like, well, I don't know what to do because my entire industry was closed out. There was no foreseeable future of when hair and makeup was going to be coming back. So I started doing fandom cups online. And then my friend's like, you should bring back the glitters. I was like, I don't know. So I shared it on social media once, and everyone's like, please. So we started out small, and then I put together our 24 palette, which was very similar to another brand's, different color clips, but ours was more really chunky blend because I wanted it to be more aimed towards theater kids, cheerleaders, dancers, young adults. I didn't want it to have that like unobtainable feel to it. That's always been a huge thing for me, was to making sure that our brand felt very approachable and you could be used from like really simple looks and like our more subtle shades to like the really fun avant-garde stuff.
Hmm.
That blew up. Then we were in Teen Vogue and it changed my life completely. And I just kind of went full steam ahead. And so for the past really 3 years, I've been doing this pretty much as my main job. And I am making, designing, shipping every single product of like glitter that we make in-house. So, and it's a really fun process because not only do I have to see what people want, and I'm actively listening to feedback of like, hey, this glitter feels a little weird, like maybe it needs some filler into it, or I really wish we had this color. I'm always listening to that because that's been a huge part of building this brand, has been listening to what people want and what people need. The reason we came out with our micros was because of a need from a theatrical company. They wanted micros. I was like, okay, we can do that. That's not a problem. So I've been kind of curating this go-to glitter company for people of all different walks of life. And it's become truly my pride and my joy. It's something I love. It's connected me back to my roots from theater and cheer and dance, and also expanded it more into more television and film, as well as the like influencer makeup artistry industry as well. So that's kind of where everything has been. But in short, like the TLDR of what we are, we make self-adhesive glitter gels in 160 colors that can be used from every day to on stage.
And can you explain like what the gels are? Because
yeah,
for just for the people that don't really know what they are, especially because
so
like when I came across your page on TikTok, this is the first time I ever realized that gel could be used for makeup. The glitter could be used for makeup.
So what our glitter gels are, I don't add any like crazy alcohols or preservatives or wild scents or anything in them. So it's a very clean aloe vera style base. And we add in cosmetic grade glitter. So we sell them in our little 10-gram jars. Usually they'll have a sticker with the label on these. So I just pulled a bunch of them that I'm getting ready for orders. And then for my personal collection that have the logo on the front. And you basically, they have an internal seal that helps keep them fresh. And if they do ever dry out, you can reactivate it with just some aloe you may have at home or setting spray. If you want to use distilled water, it's easy. And all you do is, I have a little bit on right now. I have on one of our micros. I'm just going to take a little bit that's on the lid of this. This is one of my personal ones. You just take it and you just tap it on. And we designed ones that will be really good for like daytime. So we have people who will wear it daytime to work. We have the micros, which are good for more like the subtle looks. We have the chunkies, which are really good for ravers. We have an entire collection of blacklight. We do have some biodegradable. But the problem with biodegradable glitters is the minute you put them into a gel, they start to break down, so it gets gummy. But it's a really subtle way of creating a clean base, sparkly look. Now, if glitter's not your thing because you're very environmentally friendly, we do have the bio blends, which are biodegradable glitter. They come with a jar of our gel base that you can basically use as a glue. Or we have a peel off glitter glue, which that has been one of our #1 sellers for anybody in theater. It's the peel off glitter glue. Because every theater artist I know, every cheerleader, every dancer, every performer, they always hate removing makeup and glitter at the end of the night. They're like, oh, I use tape. And then I'm like, well, that's a lot of adhesive and pulling on your skin. Versus we have a polyvinyl alcohol peel off glue that you can put right underneath. And that way, peel it off at the end of the night and throw it right in the trash.
That's actually really smart. It's really smart. The peel off glue is so smart.
That's one of the biggest ones that we get for a lot of our theater people. Is they'll usually get the micros and then the peel off glitter glue because they're like, it's a game changer.
Yeah.
Because you can also put it underneath your eyeshadow, and then at the end of the night, you can just peel that off as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It does seem like a game changer. It definitely, it saves time.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Speaking of shows that use it, you've told me that like there are some companies that have used it. Can you tell us?
I can talk a little bit about this. It was a very organic process of how it happened, but we have been supplying the national tours, the Broadway production, we supplied the Toronto production, and we did also send some to the UK production of Six the Musical. It all happened by chance because I wanted to go see the show because it looked really interesting and fun. I think my dad had made an off comment be like, why aren't more shows wearing your glitter? Because like that's your background. I was like, I don't know. So I ended up going to the last night of the national tour opening in Las Vegas for Six. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to bring them glitter just as a fun little, like, welcome to Vegas. I know you're starting off your tour. Let's start it off with a bang.
Mhm.
They all lost it. They're like, wait a minute, this is so cool. Because I know for a fact that they have to use MAC. That's a show that's contracted with MAC makeup. It's in their programs. Most shows are usually contracted with like MAC or Inglot or Ben Nye. So I was like, even if they're not using it on a show, like, I just want them to have fun with it. Then all of a sudden we started getting messages being like, hey, we really like this. And then I got probably, it was one of those notifications. There's like very few notifications I get in my life that I'm like, oh my God, this changed my life. Gabrielle Slade, who is the costume designer for Six, who I believe won the Tony Award for Six Musical's costume design, followed me on social media. And she's like, we love the glitters. Would love for you to send us some to the UK. And I about pooped my pants because I was like, there's no way this is happening. Finally, I'm able to marry my love of musical theater with what I do because I went to school for theater. I went to school in New York for acting. And although I was like, I'm probably never going to make it on stage, I did a lot more stage management and I did a lot of behind the scenes stuff. And then that's why I got into hair and makeup.
Mm.
It was just this light bulb moment. I was like, this is an avenue that I don't think anybody else is jumping into
Mm.
head first into.
Mhm.
Because there are a lot of, with the exception, I probably will say, of like Ben Nye, who is known as like a stage makeup company. There are very few cosmetic companies who their primary focus, like Krylon, and there are a lot of like stage-based makeup, but there are very few consumer-facing makeup products. So the products that you see in like an Ulta or a Sephora or like a Walgreens or a Walmart, who, yes, they're very like customer facing, but they're not focusing also on the theatrics and the artistry element of it. So this was kind of that light bulb moment of, this is something that I don't see a lot of other brands doing. Why don't we lean into this? So we started leaning into it more. I started posting things about if you needed glitter for your theater company. And then we'd have actors and actresses reaching out to us. We have a lot of drag queens who have used us. We went to DragCon a couple of years ago and I connected with so many drag queens because they are performing almost every day, it feels like.
Yeah.
And you want to create those relationships with performers because the performers are what get you into the stage door essentially for things like that. And that's exactly what happened with Six, is that we handed glitters to the queens and then that got to the higher ups and that got to the higher ups. And then they're like, yeah, we want to place orders. And it just, I'm still forever grateful. I know that we're not the only company that they use, but we're forever grateful that we were able to create such an incredible relationship with all of the queens across the world to help us kind of start that journey.
Right. Mhm. And you actually brought some glitters.
I did. So I went through not only like what some of the Tony winners would be. So I have my little list of like what the Tony glitters would be, the Tony Award winners would be if they're glitters. But I did bring some of the ones that we do use for Six as well. So I have a nice little assortment. And it kind of depends. We will then curate not only like bundles of colors where it's like, oh, okay, we have Anaclise that's like reds, blacks, and like usually a burgundy of some kind.
Mm.
But I would also create like maybe a mini palette. So if you're in a show, you can do something like that. But let's, for example, Catherine Howard, bright pink. Everybody knows that hot bubblegum pink outfit with a big ponytail. Bubblegum Bay, which is one of our favorites for her. But it was actually Didi Romero. I believe it's Didi Romero who did it. Didi was the one who actually started using a different shade for it. And it opened my eyes into the possibilities like undertones and things like that. Didi started using Disco Pants Micro, which is a like rose gold and purple. And it kind of just popped everything off. So I will listen to these actors and these performers, and they are telling me, hey, my costume has these undertones of this, and I have this undertone in my makeup as far as like my skin tone. What do you think would work for me? And I love curating that. We have silver, like Jane Seymour wears silver. So we went with Mirror Mirror, which comes in a chunky, which is our traditional style, a micro, which is that super, super small glitter, and then like a flaky confetti style glitter as well. And then every time we would send out a color, I always want to make sure you want to send out an iridescent as well. Because sometimes maybe they want to do a lot of with like eyeliner and they don't want to do a lot of glitter, but they still have to wear a little sparkle. So I'll do one of our iridescent one, like this is Daybreak, which has that blue orange shift to it. So this actually works for both, mostly worked for Catherine Parr. And then I sometimes would give this one also to, it kind of depended on which queen it was, because especially with a lot of shows, there thankfully is a lot more colorblind casting happening. So I'm able to kind of curate the bundle depending on, oh, okay, we have 4 people playing this role. One is Black, one is Asian, one is white, one is Southeast Asian. What can I do? And they'll have the same main colors, but then I'll pick a different iridescent for them just because I want it to match with their skin tones and I don't want it to look ashy on stage. So,
Right.
but yeah, and then if you want, we can go through I wrote down, one of the things I love to do is I talk about like Tony Award winners as glitters. It was a fun little challenge for myself because I like to do challenges like that to kind of force myself to think outside the box. So let me go. I wrote down a list. This is what I do with all of my friends. It's like they're like, I need this team as glitter. I'm like, you got it. So merrily we roll along, which I'm so glad we're getting a pro shot of, because I know we had the pro shot of the London cast, but I feel like the trio of Dan, Jonathan, and Lindsay is magic that will never.
Oh, I died when I saw that they were doing a pro shot. I'm like, yes.
I was like, thank God. So because it is more of a 70s style show, I did want to go with more like a neutrally brown. So I ended up picking Ship This, which is it's a weird to say it, but it's like a champagne and brown. So.
Oh, that's really pretty.
And it fits the vibes of the aesthetics of the scenery as well. So a lot of times when I don't necessarily have a costume to go off of or things like that, I'll go off of score or playbill, because I live in Vegas. I don't get to see a lot of shows anymore. When I lived in New York, that was a whole different ballpark. What did I do next was Sweet Dreams. Not Sweet Dreams. Next I did The Notebook, which is Sweet Dreams. Hold on one second. So next I decided to go with The Notebook, which criminally not nominated for nearly enough this season. Honestly, Ingrid Michaelson is songwriter of our generation. And I ended up going actually with our newest shade that's called Cold Plunge, which makes sense for a whole different reason. Because all I can think of is If I'm a Bird, You're a Bird, which is a like bluish silver, but it still has that little bit of rainbow to it. And I was like thinking to myself,
yeah, that is gorgeous.
What I also thought about is, how would this look on the main actor's skin?
Right.
And first of all, she's a former Catherine Parr. So I was like, well, I know I can rock Water Country Flakes with her because that's one of the ones that they wear in the show. But I was just like, I wanted to do something kind of fun and blue. So I did Sweet Dreams for The Notebook. Now, The Outsiders, when it comes to doing a mostly masculine show, I don't have a lot of matte glitters, which people will call man glitter. I'm like, that's not what that is. But because it is kind of more of a dark and a grungy show, and also because I do know the book, because we all read it in high school, I ended up going with our shade Stormy Vibes. Now, Stormy Vibes is really fun because it has this dark, grungy look to it, but it has this really beautiful reflect, which I'm hoping you can catch, but there's a purple reflect in it.
Yep, I see
and
that.
It's actually got little lightning bolts in there as well. So it very much is like reminiscent of the Rumble. And I was like, it's for a show like that, I wanted to take a moment to kind of encapsulate glitter, which I thought was fun. Let's go with Steph's. So Miss Shanna Tileb, who I think is adorable, and I think is the next Lin-Manuel Miranda, and I hope that she gets the role handed to her on a platter because I think she's incredible. I ended up going with the purple. I went with that like suffragette purple, and I wanted something that was a little bit richer and more deep and kind of like grounded. So I actually went with a shade called Incantation, which is this beautiful, beautiful dark purple. And you'll see there's a little bit of a pink reflect to it. So it's really, really fun. This is actually one that my mom designed, because my mom designed some of my glitters with me sometimes, especially when I used to work out of our garage. She would come in and be like, I want to design one. I'm like, okay. Let's go to Hell's Kitchen with our Best Actress winner, which her speech was adorable. The fact that was her Broadway debut and she ended up winning, I love that for her so much. All right, we're gonna go with it's a very New York bodega color is what I like to say. This is Hot Tamale, and it looks like Hot Cheetos, which you're like, oh, that feels kind of pointed. I was like, well, it's Hell's Kitchen, first of all. Secondly, if you look at the colors of the playbill, it's that bright yellow and orange and like sunset. and it's more of a matte glitter, which just kind of felt right. So, but I love this one. It used to be called, I forget what it used to be called Solar Flare. And then somebody I was working with was like, oh, it looks like hot Cheetos. And I was like, oh, that's kind of perfect. She's like, it's kind of like a hot tamale. I was like, that's a better name to describe that shade. And I will say, once we changed the name of it, it started to sell more, which is really fun. We talked about this shade a little bit when it comes to those like shows that are very much in a time period. So with Meryl it was the 1970s as well, or not 1970s, but it was a show that premiered in the 70s. Stereophonic is the same way. It's a 70s inspired show, and I was like, if I don't pick this shade for it, I'm silly. Disco Pants. So that's what it looks like, and it kind of gives me very much sitting in a grungy like recording studio vibe. So that's why I picked it for that one. Illinois. This one is very special to me. This is a dance piece. I am a big Sufjan Stevens fan. I love dance musicals. I think there needs to be more of them every year.
And let me just say that about Illinois real quick. This was the first time I ever heard of Illinois. Was during the Tonys, and then during the Tonys and that performance, I cried.
It was beautiful.
Just at that performance, I just lost it.
I think that there needs to be a best dance musical category because I think that there needs to be more dance pieces on Broadway. In honesty, I think that that's what there needs to be. In the same way that I believe there is a best choreography Tony. The fact that there is not a best hair and makeup Tony is criminal. I know that they are fighting for it. I know that there are members of the union who are putting up petitions. So if you see any of the local hair and makeup union members talking about that, please go support them because that is a very, very important thing that needs to be recognized on stage. So, but talking about Illinois, again, dance musical, I wanted to have that whimsy element to it. So I ended up going with Mama Sparkles Magic, and it just looks like a butterfly wing. With that like blue purple.
I love that.
It has these beautiful little stars in it, and I just felt like it would catch so well. So that's another one that my mom actually designed, and it's one of our most popular shades, which makes me very happy. Let's go into Water for Elephants. So Water for Elephants is a hard show. I've read the book. I've seen the movie. I loved the book. Loved the movie. I thought that they were incredible. With shows like this, because yes, it's very flashy, but not in the same way that like a Greatest Showman is, where you could like easily put a glow very carefully of like, what do I think would work best for a show like this? So I ended up going with a glitter that had a lot more matte in it, which is called Viva la Zebra. And this one also was inspired kind of a little bit by the musical City of Angels. It was inspired a little bit by, I think there was an actual show. I don't think it was Sons of Anarchy, City of Angels, but there was a show that was on Showtime that this reminded me of. And it's very like 1940s Los Angeles, that like Art Deco movement. So it's an iridescent with these black and white polka dots in it, which felt very clown and circus like. So I was very, very excited about that one. And this is one that, yes, could be used by men and women, but it felt grungy circus.
I gotta tell you though, too, with Water for Elephants, like I haven't seen the movie and I haven't read the book, so I am totally unfamiliar with it. I got really confused by the performance, and
yeah, a lot of people who have seen the show, they're like, that wasn't the best number for them to do, which I'm like, how do you pick what scene? Like, I'm thinking of it from a book and a movie perspective. I'm like, what scene do I think is so iconic? And I'm like, that's a really hard one to do. I think medley styling it is the best way, like they did with Hell's Kitchen. But that's such a hard show to sell that way that I wish that they could have done something maybe with a puppet, because the puppet, from what I've heard, is absolutely insane.
Well, Isabella McCullen, I can't remember her name. Is it Isabella McCullen?
I think so.
Yeah. She wasn't even in that number, and I'm like, they literally needed to add her to sell it at least,
or at least like lean into your superhero nerds and have more Grant Gustin.
Yeah.
So it was a weird thing to watch from a performance perspective, but I want to give the show that of doubt because I think there's something special there.
I want to give the
So
show. I want if it's still when I go to New York next year, I do want to go see it because I do love Isabella because I love Rise of the Pink Ladies. That was like my favorite show.
so good, so good.
Should have
All right,
not got
let's
canceled.
exactly. Very much so. All right, let me go on to my last three. I'm going to save my last two, but I'm going to go into Lempicka.
Okay.
So a show that everybody who saw it said it's an incredible show. It would have done better off Broadway and it would have lasted a lot longer. There was a joke that Josh Groban made during the Jimmy Awards where he's like, Lempicka, where it's going to be some girl's bat mitzvah theme, and I about lost it because I thought that was hilarious. Now, because I don't know enough about the show, I know the basic premise and the plot, and I looked at a lot of the costumes and the hair and makeup and kind of the Art Deco styling of it. I ended up going with one of our micro shades. I ended up going with Enchantress Micro, which kind of just looks like a paint, which is really fun. And it's this beautiful red holographic gold moment. It's like a red purple. And I was like, I also feel like Eden Espinosa could rock the hell out of that.
Yeah.
So, but all right, let's talk about my last two shows. I'm gonna go next with Tommy. I have a personal love for this show because I'm a big fan of The Who. We did Tommy in college, and it shocked me to my core. I think that it is an incredible show. I think the staging was a little wild. I'm a little intrigued by it, but I'm also like, I kind of want to see it fully fleshed out.
I'm a little mad because I just saw this morning that they're playing their final performance next month.
No!
Yeah.
Shut up. That's bullshit. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Yep.
Oh my God, I'm so mad.
I'm so mad.
That's such a good show. I feel like that's going to be a really good touring show.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's also a really good show for high schools to do. It's a little adult, but I feel like it's a really good like college.
And I hope
like,
I hope it tours because I want to see it.
I think it would do really well out here in Vegas at the theater out here. So, well, because of that one, I picked Mirror Mirror because it looks like pinballs. Because they play the silver balls, and I was like, that's Mirror Mirror in a glitter. So now I'm mad. I gotta go tell my stepdad he's a massive Who fan as well. So
I'm sorry. I just had to point that out. I just
got that
this morning.
I haven't even gotten a chance to like look at all of my notes and everything, and I was like, damn. So, all right, last one. This is on my list of shows that if I could find a way to work on it as far as like having our products used, I think I could be very, very happy for a very long time. And I'm going to go off with Cabaret at the Kit Kat Club. I think that this production is startling in the best way possible. I like the fact that every MC has their own styling, their own like aesthetically look, but like the way that they do their faces. I love the marionette style choreography. I love the whole aesthetic of that show. From everything I've heard, nobody wants to go see it because it's so expensive, which I understand.
Eddie Raymond's performance made me kind of uncomfortable.
That's the point.
I loved it. Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah.
So with that one, for a couple of reasons, I almost did one of our Star of David Glitters. I was like, that's a little too on the nose for a show about East Berlin during, the times that it is. So I ended up going with our like grungy rainbow color is what I call it. It's called Love Always. It's actually also one of our charity ones that goes towards LGBTQ plus causes.
Ooh.
But like, I could definitely see the MC wearing a little bit of this. I could see Sally wearing a little bit of this, but
I want to wear some of that.
This one's really fun and people love it because it is that like fun rainbow one. And we have rainbows in a couple of different styles as far as like an iridescent rainbow and then like a dark rainbow and then like a flinky rainbow. But yeah, I love doing stuff like this where people like tell me a show where people will come into my comments and we'll just be talking when I'm going live and they're like, I need a glitter for this. I need a glitter for that. I want to do more of if this Broadway show was a glitter. I'd love to do that as a whole little series. Maybe once our new studio space is done, I can actually do that as like a weekly thing. We could do this like a Thursday thing, like a theater Thursdays. So But yeah, it's been really fun. But I definitely have my list of shows that are currently on Broadway that I think we could find a place in. Cabaret is one of them. Wicked would be a little harder because the characters we'd want to do it to you would only be for like certain elements.
Yeah.
The Jellicle Ball for Cats.
Oh, that'd be so good.
And then I'm trying to think, there's a couple other shows like here and there, like Heart of Rock and Roll would have been really fun. Back to the Future could be really fun. Um, Cabaret in general, obviously, but also Chicago in that vein.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's always about just finding the places that make sense. Like a lot of times when we have community theater productions that'll reach out to us, they're doing things like SpongeBob SquarePants or The Little Mermaid, and that's our bread and butter. It's those fun, bright colored musicals that we can easily find something for.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's my bucket list for 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're in 2024 right now, is to see our glitters in the Tony Awards. I think that would be really fun.
Oh yeah.
Like
yeah.
if I could get Audrey McDonald wearing our glitter during Gypsy, I think I could probably be very happy.
I'm so excited for Audrey McDonald and Gypsy.
So good.
It's gonna be so
It's gonna
good.
be so good. So, but yeah, that's our little shift. That's what we do. It's really fun to be able to connect my background in theater with the making of the cosmetics. So yeah.
So then,
Okay,
speaking of the, oh, sorry.
Go for it. No, you're good.
I was going to say, speaking of the Tonys, what did you think about them?
I thought it was relatively good. I hate saying it, but also I'm not going to be mad about saying it. Justice for Lindsay Mendez.
Yep.
I think that they put her in the wrong category.
Yeah. Yep. I'm so happy for Jonathan Groff and
Daniel Radcliffe.
Daniel Radcliffe.
Also, I don't understand. Well, no, she did. She did win for directing, didn't she? Did Friedman win for directing for Merrily?
I don't know for sure.
No,
No,
she didn't. She lost to what's her name? The Nepo niece, the Nepo niece of Broadway is what I'm calling her. Julie Taymor's niece for The Outsiders.
Yeah.
Who fantastic in her own right, which I feel bad saying, but I was like, that's the only way I'm going to remember her name, which I hate. But honestly, I fell in love with the director from Merrily when she was the narrator in Joseph Mimi's and Technicolor Dreamcoat. So, but yeah, it was a good show. There were technical elements that I think could have been fixed. There was a lot of mic like errors and issues this year, which I was like, how do we not have this shit figured out?
Right.
We do this live 8 times a week. As much as I love Ariana DeBose and I've gotten to meet her and she's kind and sweet, I do want to see somebody else host.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to get in the same route where we had like Neil Patrick Harris host 4 years in a row and like to have her host 4 years in a row. I loved the duos. Like Alan and Kristen worked well. Josh and Sarah worked well. I kind of loved when Darren, Chris, and Julianne Hough hosted Act 1. I think it was last year or the year before. I thought they did great. I was like, I'd love to see the two of them do that. I'd also love to selfishly see Darren do that because I've known him for over 10 years and I think he's one of the most genuine and talented people I know. And I think he would do so well. So well.
I mean, speaking of that too, like I just don't think that because she hosted last year and this year, right?
Yes.
I don't think she can top another year. She can't top what she did this year.
Nothing, no. Nothing will top the writer's strike.
Yeah.
Tony Awards.
Yeah.
Because it felt so real and it felt like live theater.
Mm-hmm.
That was why.
Yeah. Yeah. And like just like the beginning with like her like turning the book and there's like blank pages.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's chilling. I'm like,
It's so good.
Nothing could top that.
No, nothing at all.
I did enjoy her performance. Like that. It
I,
was really fun.
I think also this year was hard when it came to the shows about what they were going to talk about a little bit in the intro. I
Yeah.
do miss when we were doing a lot of like big chorus numbers for intros.
Yeah.
Like nothing will top the one with Neil Patrick Harris, where he did the magic trick and he went from on stage to the back of the stage and then did the Tom Hooper close up on my mouth. We do this stuff 8 times a week live. Check. That is ingrained to my mind. Now, granted, I think that was Lin-Manuel Miranda who ended up writing that.
Yeah.
Give Shanna Taub the opportunity next year.
Mm.
She's proven she can do stuff like this, so give her the opportunity.
And I will just say this one thing about Lin-Manuel Miranda. Love the guy. He's a creative genius, except for The Little Mermaid.
I don't like to speak ill of theater people. I don't. I really don't. But there are times where I'm like, maybe it's not necessary to change things so drastically for the sake of changing things.
Yeah. Tick Tick Boom was amazing. I love Tick Tick Boom.
I thought that was incredible, and I'm still forever bummed that he did not get more accolades for that.
Yeah.
I'm also in the minority. I don't think Hamilton is his best musical. I'm sorry, it's In the Heights by far.
I've only seen the movie.
Of In the Heights?
Yeah.
I don't like to say look at slime tutorials, but slime tutorials on YouTube of In the Heights. Oh,
yeah,
that's a show.
Yeah. And I've only seen Hamilton on Disney Plus, and I'm seeing it on Broadway, like in a show, because it's touring here next year. So I'm gonna be able to see it. So, and I love it. I love Hamilton, but
I think it's good. But I think that there are other shows. I also feel like there needs to be a clause on Broadway where we shouldn't have these 10 to 15-year shows. There are some that I'm like, never leave. I think if you are selling at a certain capacity after 7 years, you can be like tenfold into a show.
Yeah.
Like Wicked, like I guess Hamilton, like Phantom was. But honestly, I hate having such high turnover on Broadway, but also I'd love to see they maybe expand more into using off-Broadway shows and theaters, because I think that the more live theater we can get in this world, the better.
I miss fandom. I really do miss it. I'm sad
it's a good show.
Although I saw something on Instagram saying that they're coming back, but in an immersive.
There's a theater production, which I love that that's becoming the new thing.
I'm scared for it. Like, you don't put the word Phantom of the Opera and immersive together. That's like.
I see the masquerade going through the audience. I see kind of like what they did with Great Comet. That's what I see more of. And like Moulin Rouge.
Oh, yeah.
As far as like, that's what they mean by immersive. They mean like the stage intertwines more with the audience versus it being in an interactive style.
I'm also really mad that The Great Gatsby was not eligible for the Tonys.
I'm 50-50 on it. I understand it, but it still kind of sucks.
Yeah.
It will be interesting to see if next year has the ART production one, has that announced when it's transferring?
It's already on Broadway.
The ART one, the Florence one.
Oh, no. I don't think so.
I feel like
but the Great
when
Gatsby,
that one transfer, when the Florence and the Machine one transfers, that one will get nominated.
Yeah.
I think, and it, from everything I've heard, because there are no cell phones allowed, it is incredible. So I'm very excited.
Because I think, and I do think, here's an idea: if you should do a Great Gatsby glitter, and then give it to Eva Nobazada to use in the Great Gatsby.
I would love to. I'd have to look a little bit more at costumes and things like that to like figure out which ones would work for her. But she's on my list of people who I feel like would vibe so well with Designer Desco. I'd love to also like send out a couple of Broadway care packages to some Broadway influencers. as like there's a list of them that I have potentials, especially for like next year. We talked about also doing Broadway Con. I couldn't do it this year. I'm looking at it for next year because we do really well at conventions, and especially fandom conventions. And yes, New York is a little hard because it's all the way across the country. But the difference is that if I need to ship stuff to New York, I can just ship it to my sisters because they live there. So
that is my dream and my goal, to have the part of your Broadway World podcast at BroadwayCon, but that wouldn't happen, I don't think.
you never know. Honestly, I'd say never know. And I know that that is a production company. I think that's Mischief Management, who they've done LeakyCon and GeekyCon, and I've been to GeekyCon. That was 10 years ago, and it was a blast. So that's something I'd love to be able to expand on more, especially as we're getting more into theater elements and working more with theater educators as well, and trying to develop that part of our brand. Because while we'll never be a full-fledged cosmetic company in the realms of like a MAC or a NYX or Urban Decay or Ben Nye, like I'm not going to do foundations and things of that nature because I don't have the money to formulate enough shades that I think would be necessary. But I think being supplementary for theater and cheer and dance and the arts is something I would love to really develop a lot more on.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much. This was an absolute pleasure, and I'm excited to see what's sparkling on Broadway next year. So maybe next year we'll do another Tony's recap with the winners as glitters.
Oh, I'd love to. I'm down for it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, guys. Well, we'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.
Bye now.